Welcome. You're listening to a Trauma Survivor Thrivers podcast on Mental Health News Radio Network. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lorilee Binstock, host of a Trauma Survivor Thrivers podcast on Mental Health News Radio Network and anywhere you get your podcasts. Well, today I was going to have a guest. I've been going through a lot in the last month or so, and so I didn't think I'm not saying I have Cali here with me, everyone. Cali Binstock, Authentic
Hi.
Insiders, art director. She's joining me today, and honestly, it's really because I don't think I am capable of putting on a face and being able to interview someone and really focus on them. And I'm not saying like, oh, this podcast is going to be about me, but I think, when I interview folks, I really, I have to kind of be able to focus and really focus on them. And I don't think that today I have that capacity. For me to have a podcast this week, Cali was kind enough to join me on the podcast. So Cali, thank you again for being there when I need you.
Of course. I'm glad that people get to see the real you, or like the more unfiltered, I think it's like great to a certain extent that you can sort of put some things, put a bit of a mask on, put some things behind, and make it about your guests, but also let's get to know you and like the real struggles that happen in life. And it's just like, I think it'll be helpful for people to see, like, even someone who's gone through a lot of healing, there's going to be hard times. And like, you can be an example of like still showing up in the way that is okay for you right now. And
Yeah.
that's got to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I might cry because I'm also in my luteal phase of my cycle. And so I don't know if people know this, especially men, but women who are in their luteal phase of their cycle tend to be pretty unhinged and just the hormones go everywhere. So I could easily, I've been crying off and on for the last like week or so. Um, but
Okay, we're here for it.
we're here for it.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, so, and what you were saying almost made me just tear up, but it is hard because today I just didn't think I could be there for somebody else, and I appreciate being able to lean on you
I'll
for
be
you
there
to
for
be here
you.
for you. You really always are. Always, always, always. And I really appreciate that. In my house, we've been dealing with some medical issues with my child. We are on the upswing, so everything's looking good right now. But it was very hard for a few weeks there. And it's been really heavy in my house. And
Yeah.
to the point where, like, I didn't even want to walk in my house. Like, I'll pick my
Mhm.
children up from hockey and then they'll go inside, and I literally, it's like there's like this like shield keeping me from going inside. So I would just sit in my car for a very long time. I had a hard time like walking into my house because as soon as I walked in my house, it just felt very heavy and very challenging. I
Yeah.
I haven't been really great at wanting like being around people, like talking to people. I
Mhm.
think I was telling you I'm trying to get a block party going for Halloween, and I have to get a petition for 51% of my neighbors to sign. And that literally took everything out of me to go from door to door. And like, I don't get to see these neighbors that often. So we chat. And honestly,
Right.
sometimes even though it is nice to catch up, like I feel like I'm dying inside. Like I'm like, there's just a lot going on.
Yeah. It's draining. Even if, for me, even if I was in a good place, and even if I enjoyed that conversation I'm having with someone, that's like an acquaintance or whatever, I still need that like decompression time after those, after those conversations, after it's still draining in one way or another. Maybe not for everybody, like the extroverted
Right.
people get energy from that, the introverted people maybe not. Like it's the opposite where you need to like recharge.
Everyone really needs to know about healing. It's like you're just not just it's not a perfect straight walk
No.
grow like you're growing, um, but you're not healed. I think I about this with all of my guests. Like when you've gone through a lot of trauma and complex trauma, you don't really just you're not healed. Like it's not done. You're constantly growing, you're
Mhm.
constantly evolving and transforming. And
Right.
sometimes it's just and it's like growing pains. I like to say
Yeah.
that a lot with anything,
Right.
any type of growth.
Well, it's like you're getting somewhere and then a challenge comes and you're like a little bit better than you were before at facing the challenge. And then like you're like, "Oh, wow." And I think you learn a lot through that, like where you are. Maybe if nothing else, you're learning like where you are and like
Right.
where you're still stuck and where you still need support or whatever. And then it's like, okay, and then you're like, "Okay, got through that." And then I think there should be some celebration in that. Like I
Mhm.
got through this even if it was ugly. Like I'm still here. I'm still choosing to like keep going forward. I survived every day of my life. The next challenge comes and hopefully you have processed the last one, and
Mhm.
integrated some things that like you can use for the next time because life is gonna throw stuff at you.
I think we can get into some topics that I felt like we've discussed that I
Mhm.
found very interesting. Um, and it was talking about spirituality. I remember one day I called you and I was like, Callie, do you think you're spiritual? Because I
Oh,
questioned that. I'm like, am I spiritual? Maybe I'm not as spiritual as I think I am. And I
yeah.
think it was based on a meme I saw about like, you think you're spiritual,
Mm.
try sitting in traffic and see how you
Right.
feel. Like, because I've also have road rage, so that really applied to me and that made me question all of that.
Mhm.
But let's go back to what was your answer? Because I thought it was really interesting about like we talked about spirituality.
Never felt very attached to any religion. If you want to like just suss that out right away, like it's not for me, that's not the place that I find the most connectedness is like how I kind of define spirituality is
Ooh, that's good. You're gonna
like
make
a
me Google this real
connectedness
quick.
to this experience with these people, the all of the living beings in the world kind of thing. Like I feel like that connection and remembering that and sort of zooming out and being able to zoom out and like remember what's important. And usually those are that's family, that's like the people that matter to me. And then there's like the intangible parts of like when I'm meditating, it's more a feeling and a tapping into certain parts of myself. Like we talked about
Mm,
last time, the self, like the higher self, like trusting intuition is, I think, part of it too.
yeah.
It's like I don't have like a framework for my own spirituality. I just sort of sometimes get these glimpses into like, oh wow, we are all connected, or I see like even in my own child, I see things he's struggling with that I struggled with, and like this like bonding that happens over those things, and like I don't know. It's hard because it feels like it's like confetti in the air. I'm trying to grab at these different things. So I don't have like a solid construction for this.
Right. Well, I just Googled spirituality and Google AI says spirituality is a personal search for meaning, purpose, and a sense of connection to something
Wow.
larger than oneself. So you got it right. It's that connection.
Yeah.
Um, and I do. I feel like you have like a very like special connection with like animals,
Yeah,
which I love. I feel like animals always feel safe and comfortable around you.
I've
Um,
always felt that way. Yeah.
but then like and I feel like that too. I don't think all animals love me. I think I can be a little bit much. Like when I'm like, "Oh, love me, hug me." You know, I'm trying to get the squirrel to at my house to like come in my house.
Oh my
Um
God. That's so funny. I love
like
it.
I love animals.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a also unhinged special feeling I get when I'm around animals. Um
Yeah. I
but then
think
when
they
I
remind us. They like if you're watching them, they're not overanalyzing. They're just being. And it's a good reminder that we're allowed to take a minute, take 10 minutes, take an hour, take a day, and just be.
what are my feelings towards humans? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I think people who are just being, or people who are themselves, or who are authentic and who are kind, you know, I can feel that connection with. But like
Yeah.
with the inauthenticity, like I don't feel that connection. And actually, sometimes I feel that like a kind of like this repelling feeling when I'm around somebody who I just
Right.
don't feel safe with. I guess that's what it is. It's that
Yes.
inauthenticity where I don't feel safe. I don't know what to expect. Um, and it gives me a lot of anxiety.
Yes.
I
Oh
don't like
yeah.
that.
I think and that like kind of speaks to the meme of like, are you really spiritual if you're getting road rage?
Hmm.
The first thing I want to say to that is like, yeah, like, um,
Duh. Of
but we're all
course.
like human. So like, I feel like the spiritual, that's just like a gut reaction maybe, or that's like your part coming up, like we talked about last time. Like where the spirituality I think comes in is, can you forgive yourself?
Yeah.
Can you have compassion for that part of yourself?
Yeah.
And if you like really hurt someone, could you go and own up to that and make amends? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think having a human reaction makes you not spiritual.
Right. Okay. I like that
I think
because,
it's maybe it's what you do with it and
right.
how you frame it, because you could just like push it down and blame the world and say like, everything's going wrong because of everyone else and you're not self-reflecting. Like, but if you are self-reflecting, if you feel a little bit of guilt, like there's good guilt and there's bad guilt, like there's, if
Hmm.
you actually wronged somebody and you feel guilty, and then you take that and you go and you say, hey, I'm so sorry, or like, what can I do to, fix this or whatever. I think that's different than some of like I feel like a lot of us have guilt for like no reason. Just
Or
like
saying
feel
no to somebody,
right, like
or
saying
not having
no,
a podcast on when it's
right.
supposed to, when it's scheduled. Yeah.
When you went through something so difficult and there's a really good reason that you didn't have a podcast last week. Like so that's like the toxic guilt, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
let,
I like that.
you know,
Toxic guilt.
yeah, there's toxic guilt and then there's like actual you probably should feel a little bad guilt,
You should feel a little
like
bad. Maybe you should do something about
you
it.
do
Maybe you
something
should
with it.
self-reflect.
Don't swallow it and keep it in, do something with it and do something different. But like I think that's where it's like different. It's like we're all human. We're gonna have bad days. We're gonna have like hard days. We're gonna have like we didn't sleep very well. We didn't get that
Exactly.
snack we meant to grab on the way out the door. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
there's so many factors, but
This is
like
so right.
and like I just read that parenting book, Good Inside, and it's like the essential thing is like I still see you under your tantrum, basically. Like this is a
Mhm.
parenting book. So like I see a good child having a hard time. I see that I'm a good parent having a hard time when I yell and I don't want to yell. And I go back and I repair. So like just knowing there is good there and
Yeah.
like and having that compassion to be like, I'm just having a hard time. This
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm bad.
Oh, yeah. Like no bad parts. Are we really bad or are we just covered with different parts? Um that meme, that I was talking about, it was kind of rooted in like I think plant medicine and like
Okay.
ayahuasca. Um and I like what you were saying with like just being like with animals just being because I was specifically on a podcast called Psilocybin Says.
Okay.
And it was like I think it was a couple years ago. And the thing that they ask you at the end before, after the interview, like the last thing before you go is, well, what does psilocybin say to you? And
Oh.
the first thing that came into my head was to just be, like
Ooh.
just be. And I think that was like that really encompassed everything in my healing journey. It's just to be, like be your authentic self, be just who you are. And so I thought that was interesting that when you were talking about animals, like they
Yeah.
just are,
Yeah.
they're not here trying to impress me. Maybe this squirrel's trying to impress me because sometimes it like sits on my deck and it like puts its little paws against its chest, like, where's my food? And then sometimes it knocks
Oh,
on my door.
that's so cute. I
and,
can't.
and it brightens my day. I know some people
Yeah.
probably think that's crazy, but yes, I have this squirrel that I'm like I
I love
absolutely
it.
love. Also remember probably a TikTok I did years ago where it
Yeah.
was like on
Spirit.
the streets they call it a vibe,
Yeah.
in religion they call it spirits, and in science they call it energy.
Yeah.
And I really liked that whole idea of it because like
Hmm.
because it is a vibe. It is energy. Like when I talk about energy and I talk about it as being something kind of infectious.
Maybe you're not religious, so you call it vibes. Maybe you are, so you call it maybe even God. And maybe you are, what was the thing? Oh, you're more like science based, so you call it energy. And
Yeah.
I don't really use God a lot. And we talked about this a little bit where I feel like my biggest issue, and I'm a togetherness person, like the personality stuff. So like I get nervous that like, and not that I'm like religious anyway, but I feel like when we start saying God, I feel like it excludes people, and I just
Mm,
hate to exclude anyone,
yeah.
So like I would rather say, universe or
Right.
energy or, something that's like
More
easily
encompassing.
accepted. Yeah, all encompassing, easily accepted by all, and you all understand what I mean. So like I think that's my, issue with religion is war and all the
Yeah.
ugly things in the name of religion.
Yeah.
But if that's where you go and you find peace and you find a community and you find spirituality and you find yourself, of course, like do what works for you. And I think along the same lines of like animals, getting into nature just grounds me. But like
Mhm.
just to get outside, walk around, whatever, for however long I can, like it's just so helpful. And it's just another way to like feel that connection for me.
So something that kind of just popped in my mind talking
Yeah.
about animals and all of these things. So Jane Goodall,
Yeah.
she just passed away. May she rest in
Oh my
peace.
God.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
last
know
week.
that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she passed
Oh,
away last week. Um,
oh. Wow, I'm
and
not connected to the news, clearly.
well, I mean, I've seen it a lot, but then I did see this one thing about she became extremely successful because of her love of animals. She like as a
Yeah.
child, she had this huge love for animals,
Yeah.
and her parents, her mother specifically, was basically encouraging her, yes, follow that
Yeah.
love and energy towards what you love the
Yeah.
most.
Yes.
And then she grows up to make a living and create this life around animals, and it made her hugely successful. And
Hmm.
I was talking about this with like friends of mine yesterday, and just the fact that what makes someone so successful in what they're doing, something that like, okay, I love animals, but am I going to be able to do something wildly successful with it? And the truth is, it was her mom that encouraged it, right? I
Yeah.
feel like, so, my son, Liam, he's like obsessed with hockey. He loves hockey.
Yeah.
And he says he's going to be an NHL player. And I do my best to encourage it. I think there was a while ago where, my husband would say like that's so unrealistic. There's so many people, like what are the chances? My son is, he can be very passionate, but he's also 7. So let's
Yeah.
be realistic. But then also I was talking to my friends and I was just like the difference between someone who is extremely successful, who's wildly successful doing something that they absolutely love is the parents
Hmm.
encouraging that behavior and not limiting them. And when I
Right.
was telling my friends that, they're like, yeah, but I can totally understand. You don't want them to get their hopes up. And I was like, no, that is what
You
is
do.
wrong. That is
You
what is
actually
wrong.
do.
That is what we limit them for. And I know and I understand because I feel like I find myself doing that because that is what my parents did to me. And that's what,
Mhm.
my husband's parents, it's just let's
Yeah.
be realistic here.
Right.
And the thing is, like, that is very limiting for
Yeah.
children.
I
And
feel like limiting beliefs are going to be abundant when you grow up anyway. Like, let's not give that to them from like it's like our baggage. Like, here you
it is
go.
our
Like,
baggage.
yeah.
It is our baggage. I define success as happiness, right? I
Mm.
don't think you need money for that, but I feel like to really, really encourage someone to just do whatever, like I think all of that
Mhm.
other stuff will come. Like
Yes,
their
I
their
do too.
ability to like survive will come, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
go go.
Ollie. My mom is in Portugal right now on a trip, and she sent pictures, and the tour, like there was a tour group or something, and they went to a place with like the biggest waves, okay? Like, and there's a guy who surfs the waves, and while he's surfing, he plays the violin
Oh my
while
God.
surfing.
That's awesome.
And it's like he made that his thing. And it's like not something you would put together or expect, but he trusted himself enough to do this to the point where tour groups are going to see him and he's like famous on Instagram and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, like you really can do anything. And
You
he,
can.
I think he had a talk and she said the takeaway is like, do the crazy shit you really want to do. Like just
Right.
follow it. Because I feel like there's so many voices that can say, that's crazy. Like,
Yes.
like if
More
he went
voices
to
than
his
not.
parents and were like, I want to play the violin while I surf, and they were like, that's insane. Like, go do your math homework, whatever.
Right.
Like it's like there's enough in my head doing that. I don't want to be another voice for my kids doing that. Like
Right.
I don't know. And I don't know where my, voices came from, and that's probably adults when I was growing up
Absolutely.
but I don't want to be another one of those for my kids.
Yeah, we just kind of pass that down. What we're kind of
Yeah,
told, we pass down, and
right.
I catch myself from saying that, and I get so mad at myself when I do have these. Do you really think you can do that? Like these limiting beliefs.
Hmm.
I hate when I find myself being realistic because
Yeah,
anything is real. Anything can happen. I mean,
right,
anybody like when you see someone like the violin guy surfing, like that's what he want to do. I bet you there was someone who's like, "Yes, that is awesome. You should do
right.
it." There was someone who was just like,
Or he had strong, I don't know his story. I'm
yeah, I
curious
kind of want to
now.
find his story
Yeah, I
now."
do
But
too.
I mean, I think that is one of the most incredible things. It's just it's what we create what we tell ourselves.
Yes.
Unfortunately, for trauma
Yeah,
survivors, we really have to go back and undo a lot of that shit.
right. And that's angering because it's, anger comes from injustice, and it's really, it's hard because then you're angry and you're like, this isn't fair. Like I have to work so much harder to get to even like an even playing ground, an
Mm-hmm.
even field with people who don't have to deal with those things, like the things that, and I'm just, I don't know if anyone feels angry hearing that. That's like extremely valid because it's truly not fair.
It really isn't. And
Yeah.
and that's also something that in my very first episode of the podcast, I talked about with generational trauma
Yeah.
and racism and all of that stuff. It's like we're not all on an even playing ground,
No.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, but to be that parent, to be the caregiver who is wildly like
Encouraging.
encouraging and cheering,
Yeah.
the most ridiculous things like
Yeah.
that,
Why not?
like just do it. Like that's
Yeah.
like you can, I think that that is one of the biggest things. Like I knew that was kind of playing in my head because, my mom wanted me to be a doctor. Like I don't like being around blood. Like I don't like
Ooh.
there was no way I was going to be a doctor. And they were like, "Yes, you are going to be a doctor." I'm like, "You're not listening." And
Right.
even if they were listening, I had the voice of a child, therefore it didn't matter. So I was completely confused about what I wanted to do with my life
Yeah.
for a very long time. Um,
Yeah, it's hard enough.
mm,
Then you add that in, like, uh, yeah.
yeah.
And I'm lucky that my mom was encouraging. I always wanted to do art, and she let me go the path I wanted without saying, well, you're not gonna, she was pretty supportive. Um, so that was cool to grow up with. I'm lucky in that sense. And then that's like my own things of like feelings of unworthiness that really got in the way. But I remember, oh, the Jane Goodall did a Call Her Daddy episode of that
Oh, did
podcast.
she really? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't.
and I watched it, and she said when she was little, she brought like I think a cup full of earthworms or something into the house and like into her bed or like the crib or something, like
You didn't
something
go.
really messy. And her mom could have been like, "What the, what are you doing?" And she was like, "Oh, you really love animals." Like basically she was just so nurturing about it. And she talked about that, and it was cool to hear like what, and that mom, like she really, and I want to tap into that more, like she really is connected with what matters, the most. It's not a dirty floor or a dirty bed or a dirty couch. It's this child's dreams and like, you
Oh,
know, yeah.
wow. Yeah, I
So,
love that you said that. Like, oh, can I like redo everything? Like I really I think I'm thinking of all the not well, okay, maybe terrible things I've probably said, really realistic things, things that I've been told and that I've pretty much regurgitated to my children, like
mhm.
of realistic ideas. I really wish I could take all of that back.
You still can repair.
Hmm, can I?
Yes.
My voice was, I feel like
Like
my voice was
100%.
too loud.
No, but
Yeah.
you can always go back and say, I wish I hadn't done that. That is repairing, is like, I wish I wish I would have done that differently. And like, I'm sorry, and this is how I feel now. And that's like the best thing, I think. And that's more Dr. Becky, the Good Inside book.
Mm.
So helpful because, and um, my ADHD group that I'm in, they were doing kind of a book club with that, and the framing was like healing, like think of your inner child when you're reading this book. And if you have children, think of like one foot in your childhood and one foot in your child's childhood so that you're like having compassion for yourself as a child and like reparenting and then also choosing the way you want to parent now.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
one.
And 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 I think this also goes back to the spirituality situation. It's like I want to do these things. Like I
Yeah.
want to I really want to be Jane Goodall's mom.
Yes,
I
me
really
too.
want to be her mom.
Me too.
And I really want to not scream at people in traffic. And I
Yeah.
want to do all of these things, but I find myself falling short, or
Yeah.
I've fallen
You're
short.
going to, and I think that's the part where it's like I'm a good parent having a hard time.
Yeah.
Having compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you know, under all of it and behind all of it, you love your kids so much and you do support them and you encourage them and you're like their number one cheerleader. I
Yeah.
know you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's just trying to get my own shit out of the way, right?
yeah, but that's like, it's gonna come up. And I think the more you can remember that you are good and you're doing your best and you do the repairing um, with them and compassion for yourself. I'm a broken record.
Well, I think it is a good time to wrap up. Is there anything else that we wanted to chat about that you wanted to chat about?
I just had something come up in my brain that was like another aspect of spirituality that I'm trying to remember. And it's like, trying to choose who I want to be. And that is someone like, I guess if I were meditating or something, I would lift all the material things away. Like I'm thinking now of Jane Goodall's mom and the dirt, because I do get like, I just clean this and
Oh, a hundred
of
percent. I'm
course, like
horrible
you're
about
trying to
that.
like keep up with, and I get anxious because I have clutter and stuff like that, but I'm trying to like, if I could just let that take a back seat and be there for myself, my kids. Like I have the tendency to go into a hyperfixation on organization, which means things are messier because I'm like, I have to see everything to organize it. But then I'm not taking a break to eat a good lunch. And then it's like, come on, like, like what's really important is taking good care of myself and, doing the things for my body and mind that I need to do. And same for my kids and like connecting with them. So I'm just like offering, I guess, like if we could just in our minds lift up, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, just the house, everything, my car needs cleaned, whatever. If I could just let that you know, put that aside for a minute and think about my relationships with myself
Yeah.
and others, and then make that the first. And that's, oh, a work in progress for me, you know?
Yeah, I'm just literally thinking. I feel like I heard he was a scientist. I don't know what the scientist was like, like science is all around kids, but we stop them from exploring because we don't want to make a mess.
Yes.
And that is our biggest problem. Like he's like you could get kids so into science and
Yeah.
so into all of these things, but we always stop them because we don't want them to break an egg if they want it, they're going in the refrigerator.
Get
Like
a
we
big,
do,
right.
it's like cooking, when
Yes.
that's,
Yes.
my son loves to cook and and when I just let them be and do it, they're so happy. But when I'm micromanaging, I'm like, oh, you made a mess.
Yes.
You spilled way too much flour. Now I have to vacuum everything. I just like
Right, right.
ruin it. And I don't know if I can undo that. Like I want to. Like that's the
Can you let them
goal.
just figure it out? I know it's hard. What if
It
you get
is.
it, like the worst thing is like I mean you could supervise parts of it so it's cooked through, right? But
Hmm.
like if you like bit into a cake and there was a bit of an eggshell, like is it the end of the world?
No, it's
No.
not. No, it's
And
not.
I need that lesson too. I mean it's
Yeah.
really hard. It's really hard.
On Saturday, I did make my children are like, oh, we got this cookbook, we want to cook. And I was
Okay.
just like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I'm not in the mood to do anything. And they're like, "Ugh, but what are we gonna do then?" And I'm like, well, you're not watching TV. So
Yeah,
they're like, can we go to the grocery store? I was like, that's a great idea. Why don't you take your brother to the grocery store,
that's
write a
awesome.
list? And they literally went to the grocery. They even called me. My daughter has a watch. She even called
Yeah.
me from her watch and was just like, Liam says we need paper towels. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, I completely forgot we needed paper towels because we have an old dog who's peeing everywhere. And
yeah.
so
That's
they
so
like brought back
helpful.
paper towels. They had all of their groceries for
That's
the
amazing.
recipe, and it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, like my my kids made a disaster in the kitchen. And I didn't even worry about it because I didn't even have the energy to worry about it. I was like, we got to go
Yeah,
to baseball now. But
right.
luckily, my mother-in-law, she's incredible, came over and she was with my daughter because we were also dealing with some issues. But
Mhm.
she cleaned the whole kitchen.
Amazing.
Thank you to all the mother-in-laws that are out there,
You know, right?
and specifically mine. And so they were able to, and then they packed what they baked and gave them to their friends, and it was like I did nothing, literally
Good.
nothing. My daughter handled the oven and everything, and put everything. I literally didn't like nothing in the kitchen that morning.
That's
So
amazing.
that was nice.
My kids were fighting with each other, and I think it was because I was present. And I was
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna go upstairs, like because I was getting triggered by all the whining and the like bickering. And when I went away and I came back and they were playing fine, and I was like, sometimes you just have to remove yourself.
Yes.
Like I don't know what kind of energy I was putting off, but it wasn't good stuff, and they
Because they
needed
can feel, they
just,
can sense
yeah,
that. They can sense
yeah.
that. Even if you're like, all right, guys,
Uh,
they sense it.
oh
They can
yeah.
feel it and they will react to it. And you'll be like, what? I'm being really great right now. No, it's false.
I know. It has to be genuine for sure.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks
And
for
this
having
is
me again.
You're
It's
the reason why we
fun.
have a podcast this week because I just didn't have it
Oh,
in me, and I appreciate people who are joining and who appreciate are these little chats, and so
yeah, it's
thank you,
fun.
Kelly. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you want to check out past episodes, please go to traumasurvivorthriver.com. And as you know, Cali Binstock, being my cousin, as well as the art director for Authentic Insider magazine, I encourage everyone to check it out. You can also find that at traumasurvivorthriver.com. Please join us next week, and I'll be working on myself, so I'm going to be a little more in it. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation, and I will see you next week. Bye.